I'm using a Ricoh Theta SC2 to capture hundreds of pictures within a park. I wanted to experiment with using video because I'm just taking the pictures for archival purposes. As this is for archival purpose, when I took the video, it's over a gigabyte here. Because I'm converting it to still images, I'm going to cut down the frame rate from 30 FPS to 2 FPS. I'm using Premiere Pro in this test just so I can see how the pictures look and if I want to then build a program like this in the future to do this automatically. Under Effects, go to Posterize Time. By default, this is going to be 24 FPS, but within the effects panel, you can then cut it down even more. I'm going to get rid of the audio because I'm not going to use it. I just want to see whether the trees change over a period of time. In the effects pane, you can then go to Posterize Time and select the 24 FPS and change it to 2. At this point, when I look at the video, it's going to be jerky, which is actually what I want, because I actually want less frames here, because even at 2 FPS, it's going to be 120 still images per minute. So first I'm going to export it as a video file, and then to see how big the video file is, I could then transmit the video file over the internet and save it on the cloud. So I'm just looking for initially file, like the video file size itself, I want to get smaller. So I'm going to export it here as a normal video. So this is a 4K video, an equirectangular view that I'm going to export. I have a fairly old computer here, so it did take a couple minutes to do the export. The video size was cut down by more than a factor of 5, which is good. Viewing with a default Windows video player, it looks okay. In general, I think the Ricoh Theta desktop application produces a better quality view of the video. So this is a video, it's not still images yet. And if I pause it, for my purposes of, I just want to see how the trees change over the seasons, or if I come here once a week and I take a video, I just want to see how it changes. And it's quite usable for my purpose to see the changes over time. This might also be good for some type of robotic surveillance. The pictures are quite usable to see what's going on. So these frames look pretty good for my purposes. I'm going to export them into individual frames so that I can then set up a virtual tour with the correct spacing. So I'll export all the frames at 2 FPS. Oh, unfortunately, when I did the export to the JPEG, I realized that there's a lot of redundant frames here, so I'll have to look for another technique. As I'm running WSL on my Windows machine, I decided to use ffmpeg with these commands. The new video file with the redundant frames removed is called redundant_removed.mp4. So now I got it down to 81 megabytes, and I'm going to test out the video file. It's still in a file. It's a video right now. I'm going to use the Ricoh Theta basic app on my desktop. The resolution and what I'm looking for, it looks basically the same as it did with Premiere Pro. But the file size is smaller and there's less images, which is what I wanted. And the images are now much smaller. And the resolution looks pretty reasonable for my purposes here. The video size is getting smaller, but I think I can make it even smaller because I feel there is still redundant frames in the video. Likely using Premiere Pro is probably sufficient for most use cases. Of course, if you're processing hundreds of video files, it's probably better to use ffmpeg and put it into some type of script so it loops through all the files in a certain directory and reduces all the frames, the frame rate, and extracts the frames in one pass.